Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Building Green 2020 Digital Conference. Building Green is a flagship campaign for PHILGBC events and consists of year-round activities that encourage participation in the green building advocacy. I am Mario Suelto from the PHILGBC National Secretariat and will be today's facilitator. So before we continue, please be reminded of the following event guidelines. This webinar will be recorded by the PHILGBC National Secretariat for documentation purposes. We encourage active participation during the event. You may ask your questions using the question box in the GoToWebinar panel, and questions that you will raise will be addressed during the discussion period. Upon request, an electronic certificate of attendance will be issued by the PHILGBC National Secretariat to your registered email address. Please request a copy through events@philgbc.org. So we're continuing with the episodes for BG 2020. And for episode 2, this is our last episode for the week, episode 8, The Specialist, which will focus on the work of contractors and specialty trade contractors in the industry and how they manage projects and contribute to greening of building projects. So let me first introduce our presenters for this morning. Our first presenter is Francisco Arellano, the Senior Technical Consultant and Practice Leader for Water of Maynilad Water. Engineer Arellano has dedicated more than 40 years of his professional career in sustaining economic growth with concerns on the environment and advocacy for the preservation and conservation of our natural resources. He has made a mark in the water industry, planning and designing waterworks and sewerage systems for Metro Manila, conducting researches on low-cost sewerage and sanitation, water, and waste treatment. He retired from the government service and joined the Maynilad Water Services in 1997 as Assistant Vice President and Head of the Engineering Area. In 2018, he was appointed a member of the Board E-Examiners for the Chemical Engineering Board. He was conferred by the ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organization the title of ASEAN Engineer in Cambodia in 2002. He has authored and presented numerous technical papers not only here in the Philippines, but in a number of technical forum and conventions in Asia, Europe, Australia, and the United States. He is a committee member of DNR's EIA Review Committee and Technical Working Group for the Clean Water Act for the Philippine Congress. Our next presenter will be Romeo Estrella Jr., Contracts Manager for Wall Vision Corporation. He is a BS Civil Engineering graduate of University of the Philippines, Diliman, and has been working in the construction industry since 1995 as a construction manager for Jose Aliling Construction Management, a curtain wall consultant with ALT Cladding Philippines, real estate developer for an Ayala subsidiary, and a curtain wall contractor with Wall Vision Corporation. He has been with Wall Vision Corporation for 9 years as contracts manager. The next presenter will be Richilda Soriano, the Director for Engineering for Monocrete Construction Philippines. Richilda is a decisive leader and has diverse engineering and business development experience. She is strongly skilled in design management, project estimation, feasibility studies, integrated project control, claims management, and cost engineering, encompassing multitude of clients and developments that she have handled. Her demonstrated expertise in conquering complex corporate strategies provided Monocrete Construction Philippines with the additional edge to adapt to the exponential growth encountered by the organization. Our next presenter will be Cyrene Joy Villados Benaventura, the Procurement Manager for First Balfour. She joined First Balfour in 2008, a graduate from the Technical University of the Philippines with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Architecture. She started her career as a management trainee of First Balfour. Her early roles was a field architect and quantity surveyor to major projects of First Balfour such as St. Luke's Medical Center Global City, LRT Line 1 North Extension, and Negros geothermal power plant projects. Her career further progressed with her assignment to the Procurement and Materials Management Department as a procurement manager, with her main responsibilities such as sourcing qualified vendors, analyzing vendor performance, evaluating architectural purchase requisitions, and currently taking the lead on the process improvement initiatives of the department. So we'll start with the first presentation from Francisco Arellano from Maynilad Water Services. Sir Frankie, let me now pass the audio to you and the control to the presentations.
How about material? Okay, I will be talking on the water industry and its response during this pandemic COVID-19. As you are aware, immediately when the pandemic strike us, the water community throughout the world, all the professionals are working hard round the clock to ensure that you have the safe, reliable, and potable water at all times. I think the water industry has reacted, what you call this, very alertly to meet this expectation. However, as we know that the water industry is the first line of defense against pandemic. This is because of the fact that frequent and proper hand washing is the basic frontline defense against the spread of COVID-19. Yet a quarter of the world's population lacks access to the water. And and side by side with this water is the wastewater, which is also part of our activity. And 50% of the population in the world doesn't have access to sanitation facilities, and 22% of our healthcare facilities lack the necessary facilities for water and sanitation facilities. Try to start by now. While working with this topic, I got across one of the very good webinar which I've been attending, wherein the COVID-19 has been directed into the reasons was going back to ecology, ecosystem, the biodiversity, sustainable development, as lastly the environmental impact assessment, the subject of which I've been teaching for the last 4 decades. And it says here that the coronavirus pandemic was because of the fact that we destroyed intact and matured ecosystem. We brought the virus on our table, and as such, this virus, that's not the niche. We destroyed wildlife, so we're getting what we term now as one of the pandemic issues. The health of all life on the planet is interconnected. The COVID-19 outbreak strongly reminds us of the basic fact that cannot be ignored. Human, animal, plants, and environment are all connected, and as such, all the human activities and more than the basic amenities, together with social, cultural, political, environmental issues concerning the individuals and attributes, all of these would relate to ecology and ecosystem. Now, I'd like to emphasize that drinking water is also one of the best defense for our well-being, and we must ensure that we have the drinking water correctly. Can I go? So that, can you see the slides? It means that when we drink water the right way every morning when we wake up, that is a good defense for our internal organs. And then when we wait. In 1 glass of water every 30 minutes will help digestion. And 1 glass of water before taking a bath helps lower blood pressure. And 1 glass of water before going to bed avoids stroke and heart attack. Now, safe water for all. This is actually under the Sustainable Development Goals under item 6, wherein what clean water and sanitation must be provided to all of us. Water utility is a critical mission enterprise. It means that once there's an event, like for example, earthquake, flooding, drought, name it, fire, um, volcanic eruption, this is one of the facilities that has to be right in place immediately because of the fact that without water, there would be a breakdown in sanitation. And when we talk about water, we talk about the whole gamut of water sourcing, water treatment, distribution, pumping. All of this falls under the water utility perspective. And on the wastewater, we also know that once the water is distributed to mankind, they return it to the 80% of it goes as waste. And we have to treat this water as waste so that we'll find out that a lot of the zoonotic microorganisms like bacteria, viruses are returned back to the water wherein it's not normally present in that particular water. Now, business must go on, as I said. That's why we have to, in our business continuity plan, we'd like to find out what will be the smallest time that we have to be, which we must be able to deliver the services that we are required to do. Like for example, in 1 hour, is it 2 hours? If we cannot give it in 1 or 2 hours, there must be some redundancy available. Like for example, you must have to give water every 6 hours, or you have to reduce the pressure. But something which cannot be sacrificed will be the water quality. Water utilities has three main objectives. One is to supply water at 24 psi, and the other one is 24 hours. The second one is would be the water quality standards. And as I said, while pressure and availability can be compromised, water quality standards cannot be compromised. Although we could say that some of them are for aesthetics like color, odor, taste. These are aesthetics and not necessarily health objectives. And I keep on telling them when somebody's complaining, bakit kulay dilaw yung tubig ko? And we know for a fact that the yellow color in the water is reflective of iron in the water. So I keep on saying that ayaw mo nun, hindi ka na bibili ng iron supplement kasi meron ng iron yan. The same thing when the water is slightly purple, it means that you have manganese. And manganese is also required by the body. That's the reason more than 51 elements in our periodic table is necessary for your is can be obtained from your as a source from water. And so when we try to use reverse osmosis, you remove all the metals, you remove all the antibodies, and all of this can be found in the water, and which gives us the best immunity, gives us the necessary materials that has to be present while you drinking the water. Now, this pandemic has brought new terms to us. PPE means, which means to us before like poly, poly, polypropylene line pipe, like for example, PVC is polychlorinated pipe. Then we have the WFH, which is work from home. We heard of social distancing, frontliners. Let's be more graphic. That's your frontliner. Nung araw, ibig natin sabihin ng frontliner will be, yan ang mga pambala sa kanyo, and that's why we call them the Marines. And then social dancing, I thought these people were doing a line dance. And contact tracing, it's like looking on your family tree. And then quarantine and lockdown, We thought that these were action movies or what you call it, sci-war fiction movies. And then thermal scanner and PPE, which is your face mask and face shield. And finally, we heard of another word, which is virus. Sabi ko nga, I heard it again 2 nights ago when somebody mentioned the term virus, and I look at the dictionary, if it's that is really a pronunciation of virus, actually it's virus. Okay. Now, as I said, we have to go to the business continuity, and all our what you call this, our facilities have undergone ISO 2200, which is a business continuity plan. And as I said, the first step of your BCM is to define what are the objectives, which will enable the first one is to enable us to assess the level of risk, vulnerability of our business, because this will tell us whether we will go out of business or not. In fact, whenever we have in Maynila, whenever we, or the water industry, when there is a problem on quality, you'll find out that a lot of people will shy away from drinking this water, and it's hard to get back the confidence of the people. And then develop would be effective risk and contingency system for business. When you do the risk, you come up with a risk assessment, and risk assessment for each of the different events like flooding, like drought, terrorism, both man-made and natural calamities are included in this type of business BCP planning. And develop would be the level of vulnerability to the impact of the events with them with 2 P's. Before we only have 3 P's, now we have people, process, profit, and the other one would be the partnership. Okay, then there you have the people, lives, and workers of the not only the people in working with you, but also the workers, as well as the families around your facilities, which you should take that in consideration. When we talk about process, we talk about enterprise operation, which should include the machines, buildings, as well as the supply. And we talk about profit, we talk about revenue generation, we also talk about capital expenditures. And the third one would be the partnership, enabling environment to carry out business operation. Like, for example, we have to partner now with DPWH so that all of our what we call pipelaying works, all our expansion program can push through despite this pandemic. We should realize that the people in the water industry are also front runners. We have people who go to the field trying to get sample for our 800 samples every day around Metro Manila. And at the same time, we also have our workers are also doing the repairs, maintenance, and also project expansion in the event that we will be able to go back into full operation. Next, you can go. Then I said building machineries, stock raw materials, market. When we talk about profit, it's markets, suppliers, society, and economic environment. And the partnership would be the public utilities, the third party, which is our suppliers, or even with our not necessarily competitors, but our partner, which is the Manila Water, and then public infrastructure. This is always a problem with the LG where we have to get the permits. It's a good thing that the President Duterte came in and asked the local government to issue the necessary permits immediately, and the environment and the overall health of the individual. When we talk about health, we talk about the mental and physical health. Next. Now, after doing the what you call this BCP plan, we have to come up with the different sets of um, identify our key products. In our case, it's the service that we have, water and the sewerage. And we have to know that how can we, what level of service will they be able to satisfy their needs during any pandemic or any events? Establish the objectives of the PC of the business continuity. Like for example, if you run if your something is wrong with your plant, what's the lead time that you could prepare an alternative source. And number three is evaluate the potential impact of the disruptions to the whole exercise. Are we going out of business? And then it's a good thing that we don't have a competitor. Then the fourth one is list all the actions to protect your business. What do we do here? Like for example, we provide tankering, we provide uh, we provide uh, we provide reduced pressure. Like say for example, is the pressure required is 7 psi, baka we can only give you 7 psi, and they come up with a window of alternate supply of water like every 6 hours from one area, for at least minimum of 6 hours. There should be a supply of water. Now we always think that after any event we can already do a report, but it's not. You'll find out that we have a lot of problems. During Ondoy, this is actually on Ondoy, our operations in La Mesa, not even a single second we were out of operation. It's a good thing that we have prepared for that one, but for this pandemic, our preparation is not really that much because who would expect that this pandemic would last up to 7 months up to now and still going on? So we decided we had a number of programs that we have, like for example, this one, wherein we have to bring some pumps in some areas which have been submerged. So we have to devise how do we bring it? Do we at times we have to bring it by jet ski? Do we have to airlift it if it's possible? And then on the chemicals, where do we source our chemicals? The biggest source of our chemicals would be on chlorine is available only from, although there are already foreign suppliers and local suppliers. Before we are at the mercy of what you call this, the one in Cagayan, Iligan, which is the Mabuhay Binil. And you could see here, this is Typhoon Habagat. This is Habagat, Glenda. You could see that this is almost about to spill. That's the La Mesa Dam. I'm not a storm or a flood tracker, but it means that it was very, very near the crest. Unlike Angat in Ipo, which has a spillway, uh, La Mesa Dam doesn't have a spillway. It would only, on the crest, it would only spill out to the neighboring communities. So you could see, can you go? This is our treatment plants. You could imagine some of them are submerged from up to 8 feet. And what our business continuity plan is that we have a stock of food for a 1 month for the people in the facilities, just in case they're not able to get out of the on the plant. After 1 month, we try to take that out and consume it so that the fresh supply would come in. We have resolved in our new plants, all the plant elevation will be 2 meters higher, and all the equipment will be not on the ground floor but on a higher level, where which it will not be affected by flood. We're reminded with what happened in Japan when they had that tsunami. Almost although they have more than I think around 20 feet or 22 feet height of the wall from the sea, and all of a sudden the the tsunami level was higher than that. So it went to the area of the where they store their pumping station as well as the water for their cooling tower. And we must know that these nuclear power plants are very temperature sensitive. That's why you have to cool them, or else you would cause them certain leaks. This is another site in our treatment plant. You could imagine how we were able to evacuate most of these people during incidents of flooding. This is in this is in Caloocan, which is one of our satellite units. You could see how these people has endured the floods. Also in the areas in Cavite, where we have our big pumping station. Now let us try to look at some of the what you call is a best example that I could give you on better planning would be when we plan our chemicals. We have to realize that some chemicals have a short life. They have a short storage life. Chlorine, we have to very we only stock up to 2 months, but nonetheless we already bought the chemicals, so they will be stored in the respective supplier, and they will only deliver it to us whenever it's possible. Right? Our business continuity management system is ISO 2200 certified, and most of them are the facilities, meaning to say that we know what to do whenever there would be a particular problem. In the business impact analysis, what is important is this figure. You could see that this would be the 100% normal operation. This is when the incident happened. And try to find out when this is totally down, the system is totally down, how we can go back at least to satisfy the requirement. As I said, this is the minimum recovery time, but not yet 100% operation. As I said, you can reduce the pressure, you can reduce the 24-hour window time, but the water quality has to be there all the time. And from then, you should have find out what will be the time that you will be able to return in the normal condition. I think 3 weeks ago, you still have not managed this. Whenever we have an interruption, especially in the areas where in high density areas, what happens is that we set tankers. But the tankers, sa pagbungat pa lang, the tankers are already captured by the people, and we're not able to reach the entire area. Now, right now, we're asking the help of the military whenever we have tankers, so that there would be proper distribution of water, and all of them would be what you call this would be served. So this is the incident, the minimum time to recover, not totally 100%, and this would be the maximum time that they have to come up with the recovery portion. Now, the business continuity, we do analyze, we implement those measures that we have. At the same time, we should be able to try to maintain and change, and then most of the time we have to review, update those. What is also important there would be the established contact list. It's very important you have the contact list of the administrator, the MWSS, because they are our client, although the clients are people, but we're reporting to MWSS. We have to report to DOH if there is a failure. So this contact list must be available. Now, when with the Manila had its own BCM process, there is a critical process and business impact analysis. You understand the interdependencies of the impact to the business, resource requirement. As I told you, you must have redundancies and predetermined time frames. Next is know, evaluate, and assess the threats to your sites and location and implement approved risk treatment strategies. And then strategies and business continuity plan, you have to continuously review and improve them and make sure that your BCP are updated. I've been attending a lot of webinars in the water sector, and I envy our partners in the in European countries. As early as May, the business sector is already business as usual. And when they were asked, do we have to change the BCM? No. Do we have to change the water safety plan? This answer, no. What you will only put there would be the all the PPEs, all the laboratory analysis must be the state of the art and based on new standards which have been developed. Yun lang ang idadagdag mo doon sa BCM mo. Like one of the critical unit that we have to protect during this is pandemic is the our cyber security. Right now we're dependent. Our business are dependent to the digital platform. So we ask ourselves: is your business digitally resistant? Can your business function effectively while working remotely? That's why we have to ensure that all our people would have the proper interconnectivity in their house. They have the laptops with them, and are we able to scale the digital channels to deal with the demand? Because what happens is that there would be an increase of load works, and as such, our channels are only very limited. And the next would be the cyber attack. Are we ready for any cyber attack, especially for phishing? Do we are we robust enough that make sure our resources are always there? I remember in Manila we have a digital backup, so our data are not only stored in one safe area, but there is a backup unit which is that of course nobody that's something that we have to keep on ourselves. Now, whenever we do the risk assessment, as I told you, the impact safety, we always realize that impact to safety from the threats of the personnel, clients, and all parties, resources, impact to our sources, such as infrastructure, property, loss of equipment, services, evaluation criteria, and also the probability that this incident will happen. Of course, the monitoring of chemicals. How much do we have to monitor? What would be the needed buffer? Can our plants from Labesa to Butatan can they what do you call this get chemicals from their starch whenever the needed chemicals is needed in Butatan? Like for example, during the wet season, we'd like to come up with a pura quality of water because of the results of the high turbidity, high suspended solids during rainfall, and that's why you need a lot of alum. And at the same time, during dry season, you need aluminum. You need a lot of. You encounter iron, you encounter manganese, so you must have chemicals to remove them. Now nobody expected this magnitude and duration of COVID-19. In fact, not even us, not any other utility from the water industry have expected that this incident would happen with last this long. But as early as 1970, OSHA, which is the Occupational Health and Safety Standards, issued in 1970 the requirements for pandemic flu, but nobody heeded that call. And I get some of this from our webinars that I attended. And we have to be resilient to overcome future crises. And again, the next one, we're still waiting for the second wave. I hope this is already the second wave of the pandemic. I'll skip to some of these materials. Basically, what I've learned from a lot number of webinars that I attended. I'll go ahead. Anyway, you can browse it later on. And again, the feisty lady, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago, I think in 2013, because of MERS, she came up with what you call this, equipping our health facilities with proper equipment so that we'll be able to much and less we will able to deal with such pandemic. Unfortunately, the bill was not passed. Now, I'll try to give you our journey towards the water crisis. My need is to prepare and conduct. Even before the lockdown, we try to protect our frontliners, giving them the proper PPE. Pipe repair and installation connection, we told them that this would go on. We'll try to get a permit from the government, provision of PCC, PPE, and designation of hospitals for potential. It's a good thing that more than 22 hospitals are being managed by the MVP group, so that we will be able to say when you are symptomatic, as well as when you have what you call, in the case already severe, these are the hospitals that we could send you. We took care of our employees up to this day. If there are any infected employees, we see to it that all of them are taken care of. Then we scheduled a one-third skeletal force. Only one-third of the employees are going to the office, and all the rest are working at home. And supplies and stock inventory are again for the water and wastewater treatment plant. Identification of materials in transit. We try to find out if there are materials which is still in the that we expect to reach from other countries, and capability to provide facilities, especially for equipment and materials that's coming from China. And then check all connectivity. In fact, we have to give some support in terms of what you call this, internet provision, automation of process, especially on asset management. And we want to try to do the health protocols as provided by DTI and DOLE. Again, as I said, this will be the health protocols. You already know all industries should come up with their own health protocols. I think we did the health protocol, the testing, the re-entry, the checklisting of the temperature, as well as the one that you have to fill up every day, disinfection and sanitation of the facilities, physical distancing, work re-entry, not only for us, but also for contractor, and work resumption plan from the contractors, work scheme at the home. And of course, we also have to provide transportation to all of our employees during the critical times, that is up to, I think, up to June, and lately in the middle of August. These are some of the protocols that we had. I don't want to go through it one by, and of course, the transportation, the vehicles, and then the protocols for entry. We gave them a lecture by digitally for our employees and our contractors, and only one-third of the employees are reporting from work. Everybody is from work from home arrangement. This is for our vehicles. And then we provided PPE, and there is a standard PPE that is to be given to the respective department doing certain activities, like who will need disposable surgical masks, the office based, and then because for medical they need everything except for the what you call this, the suit, no, the isolation suit. Can somebody naghang yata yung computer? Yeah. So we are able to all the activities here, and then we have design personnel who will take this particular to ensure that all of these are properly attended to. And even up to that, we have Maynila has maintained its position as far as helping the community. We come up with a cooperative in Tondo as well as in Batasan, where we were asked them to produce alcohol, sanitizer, soap. We gave them seed money. That was around 6 years ago, and now the soap, alcohol, sanitizer dispenser, we asked them to ramp up their production, and we are buying from them. That's why the community have a lot of uh, a lot of things in their hand, and the proceeds are going on livelihood to the rest and provision of disinfection alcohol. And then we gave this alcohol to quarantine units, also to some of the hospitals, also to LGUs. And then we also constructed COVID testing facilities in De Los Santos Hospital, drinking water stations. We gave them bottles, jugs to some of these quarantine facilities. Pregnant employees are those with underlying chronic diseases will continue from work from home, and arrangement and prioritize divisions and departments with critical initiatives.
Hi, Sir Frankie. Can I ask you to please wrap up your
Yeah,
presentation?
naghahang yung ano yan, naghahang yung uh, can you paki-control ang monitor. Now, as I said, the industry is faced with three problems. One is the operating expenses. We have what you call this very ang aming operations, ang aming revenues are going down because people are not uh, lost their jobs. But to tell you frankly, ang mga Pilipino hindi sila pasaway. They see to it that they pay their water bills religiously. I think right now we're pretty safe, but on the first 3 months, medyo nahirapan kami. And with that also, we will be have problems with machineries and chemicals. And the last problem would be the capital expenditures. Some of the expenditures might be delayed because of the like for example, these are water districts. Very small ang kanilang, they will be more on the economic recovery. Next, next, next. Now, it has been said that the water utility is recession proof. Recession proof siya because our market will not be reduced. But although we lost our industrial and commercial markets, but in that domestic market is still improving. And I would like to tell you that the water in Metro Manila is safe because the present disinfection process is enough to be able to manage the coronavirus. And at the same time, we have done a lot of improvements so that we'll have water resiliency, in sinasabi namin redundancy, advanced asset management, and real-time asset management condition. I'd like also to emphasize that when nations spoil the planet, they become susceptible to new zoonotic diseases. Government allow harm to nature, but dimly understand that the socioeconomic activity causes the spill over of coronavirus in our community. So this coronavirus incident has already triggered 4 out of our SDG target. One is the health and well-being. That is SDG number 3, safe water and affordable sanitation. That's SDG number 6, and then SDG number 15, which will be biodiversity and like above problems, and SGB 17 would be more on partnership. Nowadays, our operations are largely dependent on technology, digital platform, and automation. Can you get the last slide? Sige. Last slide. As I said, water is safe because of its. And finally, I don't want to come a time wherein we would be expressing our feelings only through emojis or emoticons. As I said, technology and digital platform cannot do the doesn't have the resiliency of the human brain, the discernment of the human brain, the keenness of the human eye, the capability of the human ear to detect noise levels which should be able to to bring damage to his ears, nor the capability to discern what type of noise that other that they would be they will be affected, and also it doesn't have the dexterity of the human hands, and finally it doesn't have the compassion of the human heart. With that, I think, as I told you, go and drink your water, it's safe. I'd like to thank the WHO, UNICEF, EPA, ILO, UNIDO, DTI, DPWH, ISO, Department of Labor, and Maynila for all the materials that I have used. And I'll be ready to entertain some of your questions. Good day and good luck to all of us. And stay safe.
Thank you, Sir Frankie. So, as mentioned earlier, if you have questions for our presenters, please type them in the question panel so that we can properly address them during the discussion period. We'll now move to the next presenter. We have Mr. Romeo Estrella Jr. from Wall Vision Corporation. So, let me now pass the control to you, Romeo.
Good morning. Uh, Good morning, everyone. So, first, to introduce myself, I'm Engineer Romeo Estrella Jr. I'm a contracts manager for Wall Vision Corporation. Engineered with precision, designed to perfection. These are the words we currently live by in these times. As a short introduction to our company, Wall Vision was incorporated in October 1998. Its main objective was to secure increasing local demand for aluminum and glass works. It is engaged in the design and engineering, planning, fabrication, assembly, installation, and management of architectural aluminum and glass products application. Uh, just to go through it quickly, no? uh, we go to other next. Yeah. Our mission, continuous innovation, integrating technical expertise and valuing our people are the core strategies of our business model for sustainable practices and norms. Wall Vision's vision, beyond being the beacon of the Philippine facade industry, we commit ourselves in realizing a pragmatically and ecologically designed facade system, performing above and beyond expectation. Our quality policy is to give value to every product, wherein all employees are dedicated in providing excellent service to our clients' satisfaction. Our services, Wall Vision does design and engineering, production planning, fabrication and assembly, installation and supervision, and project management. Our products are mainly curtain wall, whether it's fully unitized or stick system, to those who are familiar. Various aluminum doors and windows, aluminum louvers and sunshades, aluminum cladding, skylights, canopies, and railings, to name a few. In short, what we do is mostly aluminum and to provide a building envelope for most of our projects that we are involved in. Wall Vision Corporation has grown these past years, wherein we already have a base of operations uh, initially in Pasig, and then we have already expanded our production plants, production and assembly plants in Pasig, Cainta, and various plants in Cebu and in Davao. Uh, we are a silver sustaining corporate member of the Philippine Green Building Council since 2019. Now, as part of our thrust in terms of sustainability, we did a thermal analysis of our glass windows for one of what we would call our landmark projects in our resume, which is the Cebu Exchange in Cebu City. Now, this is under development with Artalan Corporation and Cebu Lavana Corporation, which is the whole project in itself is on track for Verde 5 stars. Now, what do we mean by thermal analysis? Uh, as an overview, what we do is we basically put in a sample of our window systems that we have designed and currently installing for this project. And we did an analysis of how much of the thermal transmittance has changed from the outside to the inside. Now that in terms is called a U value. The U value is basically a fixed number. Well, in terms of its uh, value, it's based on watts per square meter per degree Kelvin. Now, wherein it tells us that the lower this number, the better the U value. For this particular compliance to Verde, we are trying to maintain a 2.84. Our current calculations have improved to 2.54, wherein this 2.54 value is a combined value of all materials that comprise the facade. In short, whether from this particular sample, as in the next slide will show, this is basically what we try to attain as our U values per material, whether it's from the glass or from the aluminum frame and the other accessories that make up the facade. So each material basically in this computation shows its particular material value and how it reduces the temperature from the inside, from the outside going in. Okay. To which we, in short, computed a 2.54. Now, in the previous slide, our level of compliance is supposed to be lower than 2.84, to which we are comfortably complying and improving. So it's in a graphic presentation, as you can see here, we have a cross section of the windows wherein this is our glass and the aluminum in the interior. And as you can see from the color coding, there is a temperature gradient from a hot spot going to a cooler temperature into the inside. As you can see, glass and aluminum have different behaviors, wherein this particular glass has a good reflectance, combined property in terms of thermal transmittance, wherein it it minimizes the heat from the outside to the inside, as well as the aluminum being metal has a slightly uh, lower property in terms of transmitting of reducing the heat as based on this color graph, no? But as we compute this particular U value, it's basically a combination of all of these U values over its overall area, as we have, well, in the long computation we'll say in the end. Uh, what does this do for us in layman's terms? What it does specifically is it gives a lower ambient temperature in the interior as contributed by the the aluminum and glass facade that we provide in providing a lower ambient temperature for our mechanical works systems to function. In short, our air conditioning systems provided would be less tasked uh, in lowering the comfortable room temperature for every office, for every condo. So in that way also, it also helps us contribute to red to produce less to use less power in maintaining this particular temperature. So using the aircon system. Next. Going to the next slide. This is also another representation from the different parts of the window, from the bottom as well as the top of the window, what we call the head and sill, the sill and the header respectively. So these are cross sections of that and how the temperature gradient has progressed from a warm temperature to a slightly cooler ambient in the interior. Now, this item 3, or the calculation of the U value, is, as you will see, the contribution of the U value area for all of the aluminum, for all of the exposed aluminum outside and inside, as well as the glass vision and spandrel panels. And this value of 10 divided by its overall area, we can arrive at this value of 2.54, to which we are currently computing. Our Another contributor to this is our materials have their own specific properties that also help in the reduction of this temperature from the outside to the inside, particularly the solar heat gain value for when it comes to glass, as well as uh, the material values provided for the aluminum and the accessories provided, whether it's the aluminum spacer, the gaskets, and other accessories. Well, from there, we have progressed these past years and take pride in completing several prestige projects across Manila and in Cebu, no? Like the ones in along the NPP3 projects in Hotel Okura, sorry, that's too fast, as well as projects in Alabang and even hotels and casinos in Manila and in offices in BGC, in Alabang, and in Cebu, uh, residential projects in Cebu, as well as other earlier projects in the earlier years of World Vision, as well as we're also starting to put a foothold also in Davao, given the same principles and values that we provide. Ongoing projects are these are but some of the current projects that we are currently working on and in various stages of completion, from Cebu to Davao and Manila. And that I end my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Romeo. So as mentioned earlier, if you have questions, please just type them in the questions panel of your GoToWebinar app or the browser where you are connected to, so that we can properly address them during the discussion period. So we'll now move to the next presenter, um, which is from Monocrete Construction Philippines, Richilda Soriano. So let me now share her presentation.
Good morning. This is Richilda Soriano representing Monocrete in this webinar to discuss our new normal, priorities during this paradigm shift. Initially, just a brief background on COVID-19. For COVID-19, this is the first documented coronavirus pandemic in the history. Even though there are five pandemics since 1918, focusing on the flu virus, this one, even though it has the lowest record of death, is the most recorded one. That's why we are given this much information with this situation. And with the Decode, it's a economic and financial consulting firm. With this COVID-19 pandemic, economy have been affected and analyzed on who are the potential winners and the potential losers in the short term within Egypt. Although it is within Egypt, but this study can also be applied all throughout the world because all countries, majority of the countries have been affected by this pandemic. In this decoding the economics of COVID-19, we can see that in the potential loser side, our industry, which is the construction and real estate, is part of the potential losers. In the potential winners, that is where the e-commerce, the ICT, and of course the medical and food processing industries are located. So how can we cope? No, that's when seeing this, how do we cope? Fortunately, there is also a study by Moody's Investor Services wherein the global coronavirus impact has been established and the heat map has been identified for various industries. Fortunately for construction, we are at the low exposure side of the heat map. So meaning, even though we are in the losing side of the economy, even if we continue with our activities, we are at the low exposure side. So there are ways wherein we can balance on how we can bounce back from this pandemic. The very first one that we need to understand before we can bounce back is this paradigm shift. What is a paradigm shift? The term paradigm shift refers to a major change in the concepts and practices of how something works or is accomplished. A paradigm shift or what we call the new normal can happen within a wide variety of contexts. Within the business world, a paradigm shift is often a change in the perception of how things should be thought about, done, or made. A paradigm shift can require entire departments to be eliminated or created. In some cases, millions or even billions of dollars of new equipment and systems need to be purchased while the old equipment are sold or recycled. So in this pandemic, where do we want to be? There are various stages on a professional and personal point of view. These are the stages that each and every one of us have gone through or going through actually. So the first stage is the stage of fear. This is where we cultivate fear, anxiety, frustration, worry, anger. We hoard, we share information immediately. We watch the news obsessively because of the fear of of the unknown. Because this is an unknown situation. After a few weeks, no, we go to the stage of learning. We overcome the fear and we learn what is this all about. This is where we start to let go of anything that is out of our control. We understand our feelings and how we are going to cope with them. We minimize our exposure to the news and to the social media, and we cultivate awareness to the changing situation for us to properly process the information and filter it before we share it to others. And most especially in this pandemic, the most important thing that we need to understand is everyone is doing the best that they can. Though differently, but definitely everyone is doing the best that they can. And lastly, once we overcome the stage of learning, that is where we go to the stage of growth. So this is where we help others, We allow the use of our skills for the benefit of other people. We live in the present moment. We generate compassion and empathy towards ourselves and others, of course. In the industry, we practice patience, creativity, and of course, enterprise during the phase of challenges. So where would we want to be? For Monocrete, we went through all of those stages. The first stage that we have been exposed to is the stage of fear. In the very first month, when the enhanced community quarantine was implemented, the company have done these three things immediately in response to the stage of fear that the ECQ have promoted to everyone. We had an immediate closure of operations. We immediately transported our employees and workers who opted to go home and can go home, because we had employees who need to cross borders, cross provinces, cross seas just to get home. So for those who are left behind, we had implemented strict isolation protocols for them not to be exposed outside. So those are the three activities that was immediately implemented when the stage of fear was encountered by the organization. But when we overcome this stage of fear, that is where we went to the stage of learning. In the stage of learning, that is where our organization started to redefine our priorities. We also collaborated with clients, stakeholders, LGUs, and other governing bodies. And internally, we developed high-red C realignments and return to work protocols. For redefining priorities, definitely in this pandemic, we focused on our people. Because without our people, this paradigm shift will not be possible. So for our people, our human capital management have been the focal source of support for the whole organization. So they ensure that productivity and optimization are met amidst the pandemic. There had been a return to work protocol for employees and tradecon or subcons, even though they are not directly employed by our organization, but are going inside our assigned facilities. We have also developed back to work plans to reduce exposure, to prevent and to prepare and to respond if ever there is a case within our organization. The HCM also supported our employees to their financial requirements. So DOLE Camp and SSS SBWS applications have been provided by our LGUs, by our government, in support of our HCM to each and every employee in our organization. Also, release of MECO emergency loan. Monocrete has its own employee cooperative, and this is the time wherein all employees was able to maximize the support that this cooperative have actually provided to us. And assistance on SSS, HDMF, calamity loans have been provided by our HCM group. Virtual kamustahan, because of course personal visits are not allowed or are really discouraged, are done between the management, the owners, the employees, the engineers, and the workers, all throughout the projects, all throughout the headquarters. Digital wellness trainings have been established to keep afloat our employees and their families as a guide to this holistic wellness in the new normal. COVID-19 training course provided by IntelliCare have been arranged by our HCM also to prepare our employees who are going back to work, to make them be more informed of what they will be facing once they go back to our headquarters and to our project sites. For families naman, and also of course our employees, an online consultation with resident doctors have been arranged by World Tree Holdings Corporation so that we can help decongest hospitals and further reduce the exposure of our employees and their families. The celebration of the Catholic Mass is regularly held by our organization to support the spiritual needs of everyone during this time of the pandemic. For those stay-in employees, stay-in workers, a grocery setup has been placed in all facilities wherein workers and employees are staying so that they can avail of whatever they need on a timely manner without them being exposed outside when they go out of those facilities. Laundry laundry areas also are established so that it will be a localized community inside. Everything that they need, we will be providing. Aside from that, we have actually established the express pay system so that our engineers can send financial help or support to their families in the provinces, outside. So every weekend, there had been activities set up for those who are stay-in, spearheaded by our human capital management, our central warehousing group, our admin group, have been assisting and taking care of our employees. The second one that we are doing in the stage of learning is, of course, we collaborated with clients, stakeholders, LGUs, and other governing bodies. In response to the call for help from various LGUs, we have used our existing inventories and available manpower on different job sites and spearheaded by our project managers to build various isolation facilities to support different LGUs. We also provided PPEs, medical supplies to various areas in Cebu, in Bohol, to hospitals, to the frontliners who are battling this pandemic head on. So yan. The third one, the high red C realignment and return to work protocol has been established internally by our IMS group and the human capital group. Here, various PPEs have been in place and provided to all employees who are back to work. Disinfection mats to enter the compound and to enter the offices have been in place. Isolation facilities have been, isolation chambers or container vans actually have been set up. Safety shields in front of the tables have been installed. Even though there is we practice social distancing, it's an additional support for those who are reporting back to work. And different ingress, egress have been established for those who are going up and down the offices to ensure that exposure of each and every one with each other is minimized. Our facilities group also have generated a My Point sa Basura advocacy to ensure the segregation of trash being done by everyone. So this promotes the segregation because whatever they segregate, a certain point will be applied and a monetary incentive is provided. Within the isolation facilities also, rainwater harvesting tanks have been established together with recycling chutes wherein they can put their PET bottles. All throughout the areas wherein we have stay-in workers and employees, we ensure that plants are installed. Why? These greeneries actually increase the wellness of our employees. Aside from the fact that it's a healthy avenue of adding ulam or viand for their meals. So here we plant lettuce, we plant ampalaya, we use aquaponics and hydroponic system in our isolation facilities. If there is a limited availability of land, we 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 recycle bottles, we recycle hard hats, we recycle safety shoes to become pots for these plants. So we have calamansi, we have talong, so we have various plants which are edible and can be consumed by the stay-in workers. So there. So all throughout, the greeneries have been established. Lastly, after going through the learning of growth, actually, it's not after. While we are in the stage of learning, we are progressively going towards the stage of growth as an organization. How do we identify this stage of growth, and what are the steps actually that can guide us to know if we are at the stage of growth already? So according to McKinsey's How Construction Can Emerge Stronger After Coronavirus, there are actually 7 steps that we can use as a measure if we are in the stage of growth already. The first one is to accelerate the rollout and adoption of digitization. Invest. The second one is invest in the culture and skills needed to operate in the new normal. The third is to build a control tower across the portfolio, bolster supply chain resilience. Fifth is to redeploy capital and resources. Sixth is to identify opportunities to shift work offsite. And lastly, we need to get closer to the customers, considering that we have the restriction of physical presence already. So in this stage of growth, we can already say that some of the activities that we have done in the stage of learning actually coincides with the steps that are needed for us to be in this stage of growth already. But to be more specific, I will be identifying situations or occurrences that are being done within the organization to show each step is acted on by the company. The first one, digitization. Even before the pandemic, Monocrete is already digitized. We have an alfresco share community wherein it can be considered as electronic library. All documents are uploaded and made available to everyone. There is also a Monocrete applications portal available for employees and business partners wherein all job sites can access and the headquarters can access. If they have a request, real time, even without transmitting hard copies to the office, the headquarters can already process. And within this portal, the approving bodies, such as the managers or the owners or the top management, can already review, recommend, and approve these requests, thereby minimizing the need for hard copies and physical presence when requesting materials, services, or labor, or whatever it is that our job sites would be needing. Aside from that, culture and skills, the one that I've mentioned earlier for the HCM innovations, the touch-based sessions, actually the rationale of our HCM and our management is to ensure that the management takes the hat of the employees, we listen to their concerns, find ways to work through them and with them to come up with solutions to help the employees feel heard, valued, and supported as how they should be. So various trainings, various applications have been established also to support the holistic growth of each and every employee, not just on a professional or a technical point of view, but also on a personal development as well. Control Tower, Monocrete have established the headquarters as the control tower, a group of key people joined together, staying in the headquarters to ensure that whatever problems arise, there is a group of people who will be there to assist, instruct, direct, govern all of our job sites in cases of emergencies. Supply chain has also been established beforehand. We had centralized warehousing systems ever since our operations have started. And in this pandemic, it is easier for us to secure existing resources and maximize inventories because of our centralized warehousing system. We were also doing the recovery of supplier relationships to establish new normal procurement methods during this pandemic. And most especially, we were able to incorporate the supply chain processes within the PERA and SAP digitized environment for remote monitoring and centralized ordering. Redeploy capital and resources, our IMS group, the Integrated Management Group system, providing assistance on our ISO or requirements, have developed an additional OSH operational control which focuses on the preventive measures against COVID-19 in the workplace. This 7-page instruction is issued to all employees for them to be aware of what they will be encountering and what is required of them. So this OSH operational control is an appendix to the COVID back to work plan issued to each and every employee who are staying in, who are reporting back to work, to ensure that everyone is aware, that everyone is prepared, and everyone is in agreement to the protocols in place within our facilities. Aside from the back to work, of course, we need to entertain the fact, even though we are in the construction industry, that we have to establish work from home or off-site work activities. In response to this, we have generated work from home guidelines wherein employees are encouraged to comply, and for our employees who are on a work from home arrangement, to use as a basis to discipline themselves amidst the pandemic. So a specific purpose, specific scope, specific working hours are established for these people, for these employees, to ensure their productivity and to ensure the well-balanced activities as they are at home doing their work. Lastly, customer relationship. Our organization have been preparing for future proofing ever since we started with ISO and OSA's compliances in 2014. But as of this year, we have added a guide on business continuity planning for COVID-19. So this guide will basically assure all of our clients that our organization is ready, is prepared, and is in the right track in terms of completing their projects without sacrificing our employees. So to get in touch with our customers, we use digital platforms already. So we do not do face-to-face meetings anymore. We use Microsoft Teams. We use licensed Zooms applications to touch base and to meet and to understand the needs of all stakeholders, most especially our customers. It is actually fortunate for Monocrete that majority of our projects are pushing through. So this business continuity plan, we owe it to our customers that we have this kind of system in place. So this is currently done in our headquarters. So to close, this pandemic might be a very, very different situation to what we have been used to. But sabi nga, as Virginia Satir have said, life is not the way it's supposed to be. It's the way it is. The way you cope with it is what makes the difference. So as an organization, as professionals, as my last slide, how we cope with this pandemic is what will make the difference. So let's make a difference and have a good morning.
Thank you very much, Richelda. Now we'll move to the next presenter from First Balfour. Let me now pass the control and audios to you, Saini.
Thank you, Mario. So, good morning to all. On behalf of First Balfour leaders, we would like to thank the Philippine Green Building Council for giving us the opportunity to share our capabilities. First Balfour Incorporated is a construction company established on 1969 and owned by the First Philippine Holdings, a Lopez group of companies. We are certified quadruple contractor by the Philippine Contractors Accreditation Board. Our core market includes power and water, energy, transport infrastructure, water infrastructure, and high-value buildings. We have strong allied businesses such as equipment rental, heavy transport service, concrete and aggregates, and geothermal drilling to support project delivery. We are an Investors in People certified company. Our groundwork is our people, nurtured and inspired by a compassionate culture. One of the programs we have under the IIP is the Management Trainee Program, where I am a graduate and currently a manager in the procurement department. Our mission does not only encompass the requirement on construction, but also to build structures that are green and resilient in a climate changed world. And we're glad sharing these ideas to kindred spirits. Our talk this morning will follow this outline. First, our new mission. Second, walking the talk, wherein we will give you a little tour how First Balfour became the first Verde certified facility in the Philippines. And third, we will be sharing what collaboration means to us. This year, the company launched a new mission that stemmed out from our chairman's principle that doing the environment less harm is not good enough anymore. We shared thoughts and views and aligned to this mission to forge collaborative pathways for a decarbonized and regenerative future. We have been walking the talk. In fact, our current office stands on a reused land. On the 21st of June 2011, we got ourselves a new office address in Sucat, Parañaque. That is along the South Luzon Expressway. Then, a 1-hectare, 3-building property integrated our head office operations and plant and equipment yard. Previously, the company maintained a head office at the 5th floor of the Benpress building and another satellite office in the Philippine Stock Exchange building where the estimating and business development departments were based. It also had a plant department in Bae, Laguna, where the equipment and maintenance yards were located. So what makes First Balfour Verde? Here are some of the initiatives we did that made us to be the first Verde certified facility in the Philippines. As mentioned earlier, our current office stands on a reused land. And to further elaborate how the land was reused, back in 1988, the property was used for manufacturing semiconductors. It was a 1-hectare area that houses the main manufacturing plant, warehouse, and office. These old structures, which had a total building space of 7,234 square meters and an open space of 2,681 square meters, were renovated to the first Balfour facility we see today. In the relentless pursuit towards a net zero facility, we devised systems that save water through the installation of dual flush water closets and a rainwater harvesting system. Water costs are saved as rainwater is used for irrigation and for flushing water closets and urinals. In terms of energy consumption, energy-efficient light fixtures and fittings were also installed in the facility. Here's a photo of our main lobby that uses energy-efficient light fixtures. So if you have the chance to visit our office, the BERDE certificate is here at our lobby and you can see that the number there is 0001. These pathwalk LED lights are installed on outside ramps and parking areas of the facility, and this is how it looks at night. Looks romantic, right? So you see, we're not fuzzy whether these efficient lights be installed inside or out of the offices. What's important to us is, if it is sustainable, then go for it. But we didn't stop there. In November 2016, our 100 kilowatt solar roof panels were energized. And in 2018, we installed window films which may seem invisible but has 57% solar heat blocking capacity. Indoor heat and consequently aircon usage are expected to drop further. We also installed ceiling vents at eaves to improve the ventilation and reduce hot indoor temperature. Our latest initiative is net metering, which enables the export of solar energy to the public utility power grid to further boost First Balfour's contribution to sustainability. Here's a diagram on how net metering works. Other initiatives to reduce electricity consumption are automatic aircon shut-off every 5 p.m., louver installation for ceiling ventilation, and motion sensor lights. All these efforts help us be more sustainable while also being able to reduce costs, as you can see in these slides. Collectively, all these initiatives resulted to a 29% drop in First Balfour's electricity consumption, and we continue to look for ways on curbing it down. The average electricity consumption we have is 387,000 kilowatt-hour annually. By investing around 7 million on the installation of solar panels and with the solar power generating 90,000 kilowatt-hour by average, this reduces our total consumption by 23% every year. This 2020, the solar power output averages at 12,000 kilowatt-hour monthly, which is distributed to head office consumption as its priority, and the excess is exported through the net metering. Now, by adding solar power consumption in head office and net metering, this power output saved 52% of the total electricity cost from January to July of 2020. The office water consumption averages at 5,000 cubic meter annually, but thanks to the rainwater harvester, we are saving as much as 18% of water consumption every year. So again, when you visit our office and use our toilets, the water you'll be using there for flushing are harvested rainwater. Our roadmap towards continuous improvement doesn't stop to our head office areas, but also extends to our plant and equipment division, the T1 Rentals and Thermo One Transport. T1 Rentals and Thermo One Transport both continue to harness and search for the latest technologies that will streamline operations further, leading to higher efficiency and productivity. A few examples of this are the operational data that are received from the installed equipment telematics and GPS systems, as well as the financial and utilization data from the Ramco ERP system. We also invested in trucks and equipment that are equipped with the latest emission standards available, which are Euro 4 and Euro 5 rated engines. This, in turn, reduce carbon monoxide and toxic gases emission. While we're at it, we also share our initiatives further with external partnerships with clients and the community. One of which is the Eco Brick, wherein ordinary PET bottles stuffed with non-biodegradable materials such as fabric, wrappers, plastic bags, and even egg trays were transformed into bricks and made usable to simple structures. This Project WASH, or Water, Sanitation and Hygiene, brought forth new hygiene facilities in public schools in Batangas and Rizal. The WASH facility is made from eco bricks collected from First Balfour employees and their families and friends, and is built to address the need for more sanitation facilities in the Philippine public schools. Also made of eco bricks, a livelihood center in Mabini, Batangas. Lastly, a partnership with Mondelez for various eco brick projects such as Eco Slide and Student Lounge. So can you just imagine how a candy wrapper or plastic bags could actually be used to build a house? And can you just imagine the amount of waste that could be reused by then? Now, these things that we call wastes today could be considered as the gold of the future. We promote the use of decarbonized and regenerative systems such as solar power ready buildings and autoclave aerated concrete for a greener economy. Our Ready Built Factory project in the first Philippine Industrial Park, Santo Tomas, Batangas, is an example of a solar power ready building. With a total of 2.4 hectares roof area, we saw it fitting to be subjected on this initiative. Another one is the use of autoclave aerated concrete as replacement to the traditional concrete hollow blocks. These blocks are lightweight, which makes it easier and faster to install. And these are sustainable too, because it uses 20% recycled materials. AACs are sturdy and recyclable, making it an exceptionally green building material. We use this material on one of our data center project in Quezon City, where the client is one of the major telecom companies in the country, and we look forward using the same to our future projects. I'd like to finish with an inspiring Chinese proverb that says, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." To forge a better and safer environment for the future generation is the path that First Balfour chose to take, and we acknowledge the possible disruptions that goes along the journey as well as the challenges brought about by the pandemic. We sincerely thank the Philippine Green Building Council for allowing us to be a part of this prestigious event and share our active involvement on being a responsible builder. The benefit of this journey might take a while before it's realized, but by doing something, even small but valuable, in the present, we could create a ripple effect for the future. It is First Balfour's mission to forge collaborative pathways for decarbonized and regenerative future. And we trust that by doing this together, we can make a difference and influence change. There's no better season to start, as we cannot expect things to go back to its normal way. Let us not allow the opportunity on building a better world to pass. Our time is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cyrene. So we'll now move to the discussions for the presentations given to us by our four presenters. Um, And let me remind everyone, if you have questions to any of our presenters this morning, please send them in through the questions panel in the GoToWebinar app, or if you are connected in the browser, there is a section there for questions where you can type in your questions, and please indicate to whom you are addressing your question to so that we can effectively manage them and address them to our presenters. So let me go to our first question, um, which is from Maria Ana Roque. I think this is a question for wall vision for Romeo. How can you tell that a material is a great U value without the computation, or is it just by looking at the material specifications? Romeo?
Could you kindly repeat it, please?
Hi. Yes, they're asking how can you tell if a material has a great U value without its computation, or is it just by looking at the material specifications?
Well, the materials in question, we get those values from our suppliers. As I earlier showed in an example, particularly with the glass, uh, those U values or solar heat gain values, we got from our suppliers and used them as basis. Even all materials nowadays by suppliers are undergo certain laboratory tests and other means of determining these values. Okay, so uh, it goes without basis in short. No, most of our computations are based from the suppliers in question, which we internally also accredit. Otherwise, we could not anything short of doing our own lab testing for those. I hope that answers that.
Thank you, Romeo.
Mhm.
For our next question, we have from Cecilia Orquina for first Balfour, for Cyrene. For the rainwater harvesting, does water stored during the rainy season last until your summer months? And do you have additional filtration or chemicals that you include in your system? Cyrene?
Yes, thank you for that interesting question. Yes, actually, we have brilliant engineers engaged in the company. So, whenever the dry season is currently experienced, we ensure that the water there is available for us to be used. So the main goal of the rainwater harvesting is not actually to supply the company's total water consumption. It just adds value on how we aim to reduce the actual water consumption being supplied to the facility, no? So in terms of the treatment, yes, we do have environment specialists who are group, no, who are keen on inspecting the bacterial level, even the fumes of the rainwater harvested on the storage facility. So yeah, in terms of the supply, we're good. We never ran out. And in terms of the health and safety, we acknowledge that there would be really some treatments to be used, but these are all considered even before we installed or even before we have the rainwater harvester. So I hope I answered your question, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Cyrene. For our next question, this is to Monocrete, to Richilda. Thank you for sharing your work, current work, and continuing your work as a contractor. But the question is for your management of wastes and products. How do you reduce waste during construction as a contractor in part of green building projects?
Okay. For during construction, our there are of course wastes generated, but we try to minimize by having alternative construction systems in place. Wherein, for example, we have reusable formworks patented in our company and our chairman to ensure that reuse of these forms are spanned through 10 to 15 projects instead of using all phenolic boards. We also have our centralized warehousing group wherein they ensure that stocks within our job sites are ample for the operations and do not expire. So they do every 3 months visit to each job site to replenish or retrieve inventories that are not used. We also give incentives to our employees or our workers in ways that for their personal waste or for their own area waste generated, if they are reduced, then there will be parang incentive as per my presentation earlier, they will be incentivized through points. So those are the things, some of the things that we do, including in our operations.
Thank you, Richilda. We have another question for Wall Vision. This is from Denise Esta. Their question is for existing buildings, can the company install glass facades in these buildings, and what are the difference in terms of installation of these facades to for existing buildings compared to buildings under construction? Romeo?
Um, with regards to previously constructed buildings, no, so far we haven't done much in terms of any reinstallation or glass replacements. Although all of our design window systems from those previous projects have a means for replacement of glass and for replacement of certain accessories due to wear and tear, due to breakages, etc. But in terms of doing an actual study on how these perform now, we haven't done any any at least recorded studies for those particular projects unless it is required by our clients. So to date, we haven't done those yet. But in terms of possible upgrading, I think it is still possible, but majority of those replacements are more dependent on the replacement of glass. In terms of aluminum, aluminum is technically fixed in a frame. So our design for replacement, if there is a need for upgrade, should compensate for the overall system itself as a in determining these values in terms of reduction. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Romeo. A question for Maynilad for Sir Frankie. Um, One of the aspects for green buildings is on wastewater management and the reuse of uh, uh, wastewater in their facility. Um, may I know if Maynilad has any um, programs or facilities that can supply green buildings with wastewater, or are you supporting any projects that are uh, recycling their waste within their facility? Sir Frankie?
Actually, for reused water or reclaimed water, we are doing a lot of programs with this. In fact, but very limited because the market for reused water is not so big. In fact, we're giving them those doing the clean and green, like the Alabang golf course is being watered by reused water. And what else? Also only plant utilization. We have very limited use, although we have a very big plantation, considering that 80% of the water use comes out with is converted to sewage. As I've mentioned, I've done a lot of webinars, and one issue there is how to use we don't have a standard still for reused water, and now they are very cautious of using raw water because it carries with it a number zootic microorganism that still has to be that still has to be worked upon or to identify if they're contagious or can cause human health problems. The answer is yes, we're doing.
Thank you, Sir Frankie. I have another question for first for Cyrene. Um, One of the aspects for green buildings is the social um, um, priorities as well for buildings. So how are you engaging your users and even your staff and employees and improving your access to these buildings and to providing benefits for the users? Um, May I know, in your experience in your office for First Balfour, what are these social priorities that the company implemented for the first Balfour office? Cyrene?
Thank you for that interesting question. Um, Aside from what I have mentioned earlier about the eco bricks, um, we involved all our employees, even the families and friends, and even friends of friends, to pitch in on the social responsibility activities that First Balfour is engaging with, no. So whether it's pandemic or non-pandemic, whether it's all about reducing waste, anything that we see of that would add greater value, not only on the aspect of building of constructing buildings, but also on improving the lives of the Filipino people as a whole. We make sure that we have a participation in that. Now, me, as one of the homegrown of the company, I have witnessed how this company takes care not only of their employees but also to the community that they serve. So maybe we would require another talk for that, because of a lot of initiatives has already been done, and still we are geared up on continuing on engaging with our clients, our stakeholders, our shareholders, on how to be a better and responsible builder. So just like what I have viewed this morning on the while waiting for the program to start. Yeah, we're building not only for the present, but we're also building for the future, not only for businesses, but also for our children and our children's children. So I think it's important that even on the smallest initiative that we think, yeah, this might be that this may looks small, but hey, if we put these things, small things together, we could really make a difference, you know. So let us not limit ourselves on looking at the present. So I think one of the challenges that we really have to adapt with, or to envive with, is to um, uh, look at the bigger paradigm of things. And yeah, First Balfour continues to engage and share uh, what other things or initiatives that we could do to improve and add value to our community. So I hope I answered the question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Cyrene. So for if there are further questions from our participants, please just send them in. We will be collating all of these questions and sending them to our presenters so that they can connect with you even after the uh, episode. So thank you once again to all of our presenters, Sir Frankie from Maynilad, Romeo from Wall Vision, Richilda from Monokit, and Cyrene from First Balfour. Thank you once again for presenting your work and your insight uh, from your respective organizations. So
Thank you.
for the Thank you. So for the upcoming activities, we will be continuing with the succeeding episodes for BG 2020 next week, wherein we will be having the episode 9, The Leaders, on Monday, where we will be announcing the winners of the PhilGBC Awards. So if you would like to participate in the episode, you may scan the QR code on your screen, or you may contact the PhilGBC National Secretariat at events@philgbc.org. We also have episode 10, The Government Leaders, where we will be focusing on actions and programs for local government units, and sharing with us some of the um, priority areas and programs at the national and local levels in improving programs and policies for sustainability. Um, so if you would like to participate in episode 10, you may scan the QR code on the screen, or you may contact the PhilGBC National Secretariat at events@philgbc.org. So as I mentioned, BG 2020 is a digital conference that we are celebrating for the whole Green Building Month this September. So for more information on the upcoming events, you may contact the National Secretariat or follow our social media accounts at PhilGBC at any of the social media platforms. So thank you once again for participating in the episode 8, The Specialist, and we will see you again online for the upcoming episodes. Thank you, everyone.